Hi everybody, and so today I'll be like showing 10 small hacks or tips or tricks for formatting that we can use in Tableau to improve the look and feel of our visuals and our dashboards. I'll just start with it. So the first trick is it of about filters and uh, like legends in our dashboard. So say we are trying to make a new, I'll just clear this dashboard. Now say we have say two sheets here that want to use for our dashboard, right? And what we see is whenever we are like whenever we try and whenever we add sheets to the dashboard, the legend and the formatting sheets get automatically added, which kind of messes up the layout of the dashboard. So to ensure that doesn't happen, what we can do is this is we can the container which contains that we can convert it into a floating point. We can drag it out of the dashboard and then we can add the rest of the sheet. So what we'll see is if I add another sheet here, the and yeah, so when I add the other sheet, the legend of this also will go to the container will go to the container in the like the legend will go into the container outside, and then we can drag it back in. So if I convert this back to non-floating, and then I can add it at the top. And say if we want it in the straight line, right? We don't want these two things to be like this. So what we can do is we can add another horizontal container. We can add this container. Yeah, we can add this container into this container, and then we can remove this container. So what we can and so yeah, this gets formatted correctly. And even if we add say new filters, right? If you want to add a filter for say the subcategories here, so we'll see that that also gets automatically formatted correctly. So we don't have to manually go and change the rest of the filters again and again. So that was the first one. Then the second one is when we are working with two different data sets or two different targets, like two different data sets where the level of aggregation is a little different. So this is very helpful when we are working with say, sales data or like targets data in our sales, right? So say we have like in the monthly superstore data set only, say we have two data sets. So I have added the two data sets here. So one is the normal the sample superstore data set, which contains the orders, and then one is the sales target data set, say which contains the monthly orders. Now when we add a relationship, so like when we add a relationship, it will automatically, I'll just maybe I can open up a new file or I can just show it here. So like when we add a new relationship here, when the level of aggregation is different, so what we can do is to aggregate, so Tableau will automatically aggregate it on some level of detail. But now if you want to change that, what we can do here is we can uh, so here's like when we go to sales, if we add a new relationship, and here we see that there is no, because yeah, here the level of aggregation is different. So we can create a new relationship calculation. So say because here or the order is on a day-to-day basis and the sales target we are given are on a monthly basis. So we can just use a simple uh, calculation where we are truncating the order date to month, right? And then we can equate this to the month. And we see that the orders get, yeah. And then if we go to say a new sheet, uh, and then we have our say the orders by, like if we are calculating, we want to see the how the performance of every month has been. So we can just like say we are take sales and the order date in our on a monthly level, convert this to discrete. Sorry, okay, and then we go to month. We convert this to bar. Let me just add a quick filter to make it look easier. 21. So now if say we have the months or targets, right? So instead of like adding a new data set, new relation, like using LODs or using data blending, we can directly, I can add this to the pane here. I can synchronize the axes. And what I can do is I can, in the second mark card here, I can convert this to a Gantt bar, right? And if I increase the size of the Gantt bar, we can see that, and yeah, if I increase, say, the width of it, so we can clearly see the target along with the normal, like total sales with the target. So it is an easy way to compare our sales targets with the actual sales without making any LODs or any data blending techniques. Okay, so this was the second one. Now going on to the third one, which is on set actions menu. So like now say we are trying to analyze a product hierarchy or any different hierarchy with any different measure like sales here in this case, and we want to add or delete items to our subcategory, right? So so one way is obviously to make a set and keep like keep adding stuff and deleting stuff from it. So this is this new feature like that the Tableau had added, I think, 2 years ago. But to make it more intuitive, like this is one way you can do it. But since this list can be very long and this list is not preferably in the dashboard, so what we can do is we can have another method of actually adding an actions menu. So adding something of a functionality, like whenever we click on something, we can get an add subcategory or a remove subcategory level here in the tooltip only, so that we can easily add it from the pane itself. So this is more intuitive for the user. Instead of adding it from the set or going to the filter pane, we can just add it directly from the visual. So how do we do that is we essentially make two calculations. We add two different actions. So I'll just show what those actions are. So one would be add subcategories. So I've already made it. So like here, this is a menu action because we are directly changing it from the visual, and which is basically assigning the value to the set. And similarly, we want to add a remove subcategory option, which is basically just removing the subcategory, which will run on the menu. So this way we can add direct, like selecting on any different like entity in the subcategory, we can add or remove it based on directly from here without having to go to the pane. So this was the third tip. Going on to this fourth tip. So now, like basically one thing about Tableau is that when we are working with space, like coordinates or any kind of other data set, we see that if there is only a single point, right? So like, just clear the sheet. Give me a new sheet. So whenever we are working with, say, like single data point, so a Tableau just shows it as a single point, right? So say I have added like random coordinates for one stadium in this calculated field here, right? And if I add this to the level of detail, yeah. So when we add this to the level of detail, we see that there is only this one point that we see, right? But we would want to, if we want to see one particular point properly, so we can basically use a buffer calculation to essentially take out the area close to that point and add it to the sheet. So what the buffer essentially does is it creates a region around the data point, and then when we add it to the level of detail, it will show all that area, and we can actually focus and zoom in to a particular point in the, like if you on the single point that you're looking at. So say we create a parameter which basically defines us what level of zoom we are looking into. So that is just a integer parameter where we have a value range values of 1 to 10 with a step size of 1, and the current value is say 4, right? So we can add a buffer calculation, which I've already created. I'll just show you. Uh, so this buffer calculation is essentially we use the buffer function, which first takes the geometry, which is the coordinates, and then what number that we're looking at, and then the units, which is meters here, right? And now if I add this to the level of detail, if I add this as a marks layer, right, on top of this, we see that we can see this point directly uh, into the data set, and like we can with the map here being if I can change the background layer of the map to satellite, I can see the stadium here more clearly. And if I increase the or decrease the zoom level, I can move out of the stadium as well. So this way we can zoom in, zoom out to a particular point in Tableau, and we can also play around with the mark card here on the stadium on the buffer coordinates. Like we can change the color to say white. We can remove the opacity. So like instead of yeah, we can and we can yeah. So basically, this is one way to look at single data points in Tableau. Now going on to the fifth tip. Uh,
Naman, yeah.
uh yeah, please.
So what is the least level that we could zoom into? Like, what is the maximum level that we can zoom into? Is it one, or we could do it less than one? If or not using an integer or using a decimal point there, will it be further zoomed into? Could you just try it out once?
Yeah, sure. So so do you want me to use a decimal data point here, like a
Yeah,
decimal zoom level?
yeah, less than one. Will it accept that also, or we are constricted only up until one?
Okay. Okay. So here the parameter that I have made it as an integer parameter, but if you want, I can convert it to a float, and I can use like all values maybe, and then we can try maybe if I add 0.5 here. Yeah, so we can zoom into any level because essentially the parameter is just controlling what the buffer size will be. So we can use any value here because it will just like from the coordinate point that is there, it will create a circle or like a region around that boundary. So we can use any parameter. Yeah.
Yeah, got it.
Okay. So yeah. So moving on to the fifth one. Now, a lot of times we use like a lot of filters for different like measures or different dimensions that we have, right? So, and those are not visible in the dashboard. Like we will always see, say, like multiple values when we are using like multi-value filters in the data set, which is not very like we can which is not very user friendly. To improve that, and basically when we are our back end user like our dashboard users like to uh, take a lot of screenshot or images and custom views and share it with say people in their organization. This can be one way of adding good filters to our data set, to our dashboards, where we can see. So if here I click on Wyoming, or I click on multiple states, multiple uh, so if you can see here in this footer, we can see what states and what subcategories have been selected. So how do we do that? This is very simple to do. We just add a new sheet. So so this footer sheet, right? Say we have these two visuals, and then we add a footer sheet. In the footer sheet, we don't do anything. We just add the filters that we are applying to the level of detail. So yeah, say I mean, it's just there, so I won't do it again. So state and subcategory are in the level of filters. We add that to our title here. We can keep the sheet as blank. So one thing, like whatever will happen is, if if you keep this to automatic, you will see these blue boxes here. So we would do not want that because we want it to be clean. So we will add a polygon here. We will change this mark type to polygon, so the sheet will get completely empty. And in the title, we can play around with the title and add the measures that we want, and basically which can be used as a like a information filter, information footer. That's not filter. Information footer for like seeing what states and everything that we have selected. So this was the fifth tip. Then going on to dummy measures. So I think dummy measures are very useful for creating insightful tables. So like one good advantage of using dummy measures for table is that we can add columns with different level of details, different marks for every column, and different like formatting for every column. So that we can apply conditional formatting to some of the columns, and we can apply. So this is a very so say like let's clear the sheet, and if I add a dummy measure min of 1, and then I duplicate this 3 times, right? so now I have three different marks where I can play around and say I add subcategories to the rows, right? So I can actually use three of these columns to do like add different kinds of stuffs here, right? So here, say we have if I change the first mark to I add text in the label, I add sales in the labels, right? So and then I convert this to text. Yeah. So there we have the sales, right? Now, say if we want the profit ratio color coded, so in the second marks card, we can add the color coded to to the profit, change this to text. We can add this to the color as well. Apologies, this is prof. Yeah, that's fine. So okay, we can see the color coding here as well. And now if you want to add, say, a pie chart where we want to show the profit, the sales distribution across different regions, right? So here we can change this to pie. We can add region to the angle. Sorry, we can add region to the color, and then we can add sales to the angle. Sales to the angle. Yeah. So here basically we can see. So this is essentially a table, but it is we have not used any table kind of thing. We've used dummy measures to make our columns. Then we can add conditional formatting to all of those columns, so on and so forth, to make our tables look more beautiful. So this was the sixth tip. Seventh tip, say now this is also about on using dummy measures. So now sometimes what we do is like say we are trying to use like we are trying to show the total calculations with uh, the component sum together in a dashboard, right? So to make the total calculation stand out, what we can add here is, so if you see that there is a white space between the central east, west, south, and the sales, right? So one way we do this is like we can add a running calculation or a table calculation to show the total as well, but it will always merge together with the different ones, so there is no the like we cannot space it out. So what we can do here is, once we are done with the calculation, say we are completed making this table, so here what we see is there is this, I have added this measure of aggregation of min zero, which is essentially this white band right here, which is nothing, and then I have edited the alias of this band. So if I show the alias here, it is just a white space. It is just a blank space. So this is essentially a blank bar graph that I've added in between the between the components and the total to show where the total is, to just improve the look and feel and make the last one or the total look more distinctive. Yeah. So this was the seventh tip. Now, say if I want the data that I am using on this visual to be used on another visual, and just the data that on this one, I don't know what is the exactly is the data I'm using here, but I want exactly the same data to be used. So if I go to work, like I think there is one way to just copy. Yeah, there is a way to copy the data directly from here. And if I go to a new sheet and I just Control V here, there is we see that all the data gets copied to the sheet, and there is another database that we get in our data pane at the left side here, so we can use that data directly in this, and like, yeah, not having to make the visual from scratch again. So this was the eighth tip. And okay, so now coming to false highlighting. So basically, false one thing that we notice in Tableau is that okay, this step I have to show from the, yeah. So one thing is we see in Tableau is that if we have, say, subcategory, like whenever we click on any of the bars or any of the visualizations, right, the other ones get grayed out. So say we don't want that to happen. We want that to change a color, or we want that to like not the like keep other colors to not disappear when we click on one bar. So one small thing that we can do is we can say we click on one bar, we make a set. So we say this subcategory highlight. Okay, we add this set. We add this to the color subcategory highlight. So let's just change the colors a bit. In we can add this, out we can keep as original. We apply. So yeah, and now basically what we want to do is we want them to not we want this to not highlight, right? So basically we can add an action on changing set values, and we'll keep the target set as subcategory highlight, and basically we will assign set to value set to. I think there's something I'm missing here. Just 1 second.
Now I'm going to go back to your filter action. Then declare the selection, you have to keep set values.
Oh yeah.
Give them all values, whatever it is.
Yes. I think this. Okay, yeah. Keep set. Sorry, remove all values from set. Apologies. Yeah, this is correct. Okay. So now, yeah. So that was for the color part, right? Okay. So now, I think this is working fine. Now, basically, what we want to do is, yeah, we don't want it to like go back, right? So what we do is we create another dummy field, which is called, say, deselect. So I'll create a new field, don't select, and just add it, don't select. And then I'll add it to the level of detail here. Now, what I'll do is I will add a highlight action here. So I will add a highlight action, which will run on select, and it will run on don't select, right? So basically, now when I click on any field, yeah, we can see that none of the other like bars get grayed out. Yeah. So this was the ninth step. Coming to the last one. So now, say we have a calculation. Okay, yeah. So let's say we are working with this graph, right? We are working with categories and regions, and we are looking at the internal regions, the internal rank of the regions across different categories. So now here we can see that clearly for East region, like for technology, East region has had highest sales, but it is still down. Though we have sorted the regions using the sales field, but Tableau, like this calculation, because of Tableau forcing this region on the west side, on the sorry region on the axis here, we cannot, the internal sorting doesn't happen. So if you want that to be internally sorted as well, if you want all the regions to be internally sorted and within the subcategories as well, we can use rank or index as to different ways to basically sort that. So I'll be using index here. So say I add an index calculation here. I convert this to discrete. Here I will, okay, we can add the color because we are wanting to sort it, sort the regions inside every subcategory. We will add this to the color, right? This is what it looks like right now. But then now what we'll do is we will edit the table calculation. We will go to specific dimensions, click on, we want to sort it by region and the category, and we want to restart it at every category, right? The sort order also we will have to customize. We will customize it using our sales and sum, and we'll keep this to descending, right? So yeah, this way we can sort like within every one hierarchy, we can sort 30 uh, visual based on the measures. So yeah, these were all the tips I had. Thank you.